Let's welcome in your good old pal, CHH. How are you doing, Christian?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm been looking forward to this show. I mean, I look forward to all of them, but it's certainly awesome to have somebody on that, I've been watching for quite a while. And, you've just got this amazingly chill, like hanging out with a friend after school kind of vibe that you got going over there at your channel. So it's a really awesome kind of experience. Just, watching one of your videos is like hanging out with an old friend. We have some pretty big overlap with the things we're interested in, but your physical media game is amazingly on point, man. You got some really, really great stuff there in the studio.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for the kind words. It's very nice of you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I wanted to get into, you're always talking horror over there, of course.
Horror.
Horror. What's that?
Where the hell are you from?
Where am I from?
Yeah, you talk so proper. You're like a New Englander or something.
Yeah, I grew up in Juneau, Alaska.
Jesus
I don't know.
Christ.
It's like the most West Coast boring accent ever, right?
Good God.
It's blank. And I thought you were from New York when I first started watching, because there was, I'm like, am I picking up on like a Brooklyn thing, or what is that?
I get that a lot because like I grew up in Miro, which is like, if you're looking at Louisiana on the map, it's the very bottom of the boot. So it's like Cajun Nation down there. And like, we say a lot of the same words, like coffee. It's CAW. Like it just comes out of my mouth that way sometimes.
Yeah.
I can stop myself and say, I want some coffee, but like it's got that like it's my vowels. I was raised that way, and I never lost it. It just kind of stuck with me. Sometimes I can curtail it, but most of the time it slips out and my Cajun comes out of me.
Yeah, and I think I probably clean it up a little bit when I'm on. Like if I'm hanging out, just shooting the shit, I probably let it fly a little bit. Let my words naturally slur a touch. But yeah, definitely try to be all proper and everything here. Yeah, I wanted to chat with you about, you're such a big music fan. You're, always talking about Alice Cooper. You have a love for, 80s music. I see a lot of great 80s bands pop up, but you're, a few years younger than me. Is that, I had older siblings that kind of got me into the older stuff. Is that what it was like in your family, or who kind of turned you on to, older movies, older music, all that kind of fun stuff?
Music was interesting. Like when I was a little kid, I used to go to, we had a AAA baseball team, which was, it was a team called the Zephyrs in New Orleans. And when we would go to the games, my uncle would put on Metallica cassettes, AC/DC, Dirty Deeds. I'll never forget, we used to crank Big Balls on his Chevy S10. We used to listen to Aerosmith Pump a lot. And oddly enough, I never listened to a lot of Alice Cooper as a kid. But that kind of stuck with me a little bit. But dude, like honestly, like when I was in high school in like 2006, 7, I was just listening to like whatever was popular. So like 3 Days Grace, Breaking Benjamin, like all the butt rock stuff was huge at the time. 80s, like classic rock. Like now I'm obsessed with like Blue Oyster Cult and Alice Cooper. But like that didn't come till when I was about 22, 23. The older I got, the older the music I started listening to was. And the older I got, the older the music I was listening to. Sorry. And I found Alice. I knew who Alice was. I don't think you could be on this planet without really knowing who Alice is. But one day I was just like, man, I want to dive into Alice's discography. And I went from A to Z. I went from Pretties to You all the way up to, at the time, Welcome to My Nightmare. And I just fell in love with Alice. And he's been my hero. He is my hero. I look up to Alice.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it wasn't, I was thinking, I wonder if it's Wayne's World. Cause I think that was like the first time I, probably like saw him and knew like who he was outside of, cause I had missed all that stuff from the 80s of his.
Those are bonuses to me, but those like Freddie's Dead and Wayne's World, those have no bearing on my love for Alice. It's truly the music and the records. And, like to me, Billion Dollar Babies, if you look at records from the 70s, I put Billion Dollar Baby, like you know, Bob Ezrin was a legendary producer. Obviously, he did, you know, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon and all that. But to me, when you look at Bob Ezrin's producing work, I think as a body of work, I'm
Mhm.
biased, but I think Billion Dollar Babies is probably top to bottom the best record Ezrin ever produced. I think Billion Dollar Babies is just a rock opera masterpiece. I love it. So yeah, I'm an Alice fan for life, man.
And I would imagine that Alice has, heavily influenced your own music. I know you
No,
got a bit more of a
not
synth
really.
poppy sound, but do you ever find that, like,
I can't
because
I can't write like that. I wish I could. Like I can't really write that kind of teenage antagonistic kind of like almost Simpsons-esque rock. Because like if you listen to Alice's lyrics, especially from stuff like Hey Stupid and Trash, it's very much through the eyes of a teenager, which is what he was trying to sing for, was the youth of
Mhm.
America. I can't really do that. I just kind of write songs, and then like for instance, I have a song, it's so funny. Brandon Tabato, he has a movie he was making called Sonny the Vampire. And I was like, dude, I'm gonna make a song for your movie. And he's like, all right, I get it ready because I'm rolling, man. So I put the song out. It was called Baby Take My Hand, and it's very much an 80s synth song. And I was like, all right, dude, the song's done. He's like, shh, dude, I haven't even started yet. So the song's done, and like the image art is Brandon as a vampire. And so I write that, but I write a lot of punk kind of stuff because that just comes natural to me, I guess.
Yeah. I
But
get that, and that's kind of what you have to do when you're writing music, right? Like, I always wonder if sometimes some of those melodies kind of creep in, even if you're not, it can be kind of subconscious. It's like whenever I would write music, it would just be like, all right, I'm going to let the song kind of speak to me and tell me what it,
100%,
needs to be. But
100%.
then every now and then you're like, oh, that kind of like with my writing, I'd be like, that sort of does sound like Elvis Costello. Didn't even think about it. Just somebody that I really enjoy listening to that sort of creeps in there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
when you mentioned punk, what kind of punk bands are you into?
TSOL, Ramones, big time. Uh, I actually like the Misfits with the second singer. I forget his name. Like
Oh,
Famous
Michael Graves.
Monsters, Michael Graves.
Yeah,
Excuse me. I
yeah.
always blank on whenever the red dot is on. I don't remember names. I'm a
No,
huge fan of Famous Monsters. That record to me
mhm,
is fucking incredible.
yeah,
Um, a lot of stuff. I used to listen to a lot of hardcore stuff, but the older I get, dude, I'm like an old man. Like I don't like screaming music. I can't I
yeah.
can't I can't stand it. I'll go on Instagram and I'll like you go to your DMs and you can see people that have songs playing. Like
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I'll click on them. If it's like screaming stuff, I'm just like, fuck. I can't stand it. I
yeah.
used to like it. I can't listen to it anymore. Um, believe it or not, Motorhead has a lot of good punky stuff, but like
Mhm.
people look at Motorhead as, they're actually really good. Motorhead was a big blues band. Like a lot of their stuff was slow and bluesy, but people only know Ace of Spades. But Motorhead
Yeah,
was also fast. They had a lot of punk stuff. Another Perfect Day. I don't know if you're familiar with the record from Motorhead. Fucking incredible record. They had such great records. Bomber from '79 was a great Motorhead record. Stuff like that, man.
yeah.
But believe it or not, this is a deep cut. I'm not a huge Sex Pistols fan, although I like the personality. I actually like Public Image Ltd.
Mhm.
That band.
Yeah.
But Steve Jones, the guitar player, put out 2 records in the '80s. One of them was '87, and it's just this really great kind of adult-oriented kind of soft rock record. I forget the name of it. I don't want to have to look it up, but I've been
Chat,
listening
let
to
us
that record a
know.
lot. I mean, I
Look at
could
look
look it up because I like he's got songs that are so good.
Yeah, he's a ripper of a guitar player too. Like when you know, people will in a glib manner kinda compare Sex Pistols and
Mercy.
Ramones.
This record right here,
Mercy.
dude, it's from '87. It's called Mercy. So good.
Alright.
It's a great record. It's a great record. So like I like a lot of that. I love Pseudo Echo. I like a lot of new wave stuff too. My wife turned me on to The Cure about 3 years ago, and I haven't looked back since. because I was an ignorant idiot. Like I was like, oh, the Cure's just a happy band. I hadn't seen
Oh
what
yeah,
the band looked like. I never
they're the
saw what
saddest band.
their Disintegration, I think, is probably top 10 records I've ever heard in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a masterpiece. And so, you know, I love The Cure. I'm obsessed with The Cure now. I could go on and on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, that's what it's all about, is bringing you guys on and having you chat. So the less I'm talking, the better, Christian. Yeah, Motorhead for me, you know, I'm a big, like, I love punk. I fell in love with it. You know, once Green Day broke in 94, I was in like 7th grade at that time. And then the skate kids in my little tiny 30,000 person hometown in Alaska, they turned me on to like Pennywise and No Effects and Bad Religion and Face to Face and all this stuff. So I really got into that like 90s skate punk. And then when I heard bands like Motorhead, and then I heard metal bands like Megadeth, I was like, man, they're kind of swimming in the same waters here. You know, I've sort of heard like, oh, Iron Maiden and Motorhead have influenced metal bands and punk bands because they kind of got this kind of chug-a-lug sort of rhythm going on there.
You absolutely had to have been jamming CKY's debut record in 99 when that came out.
So my friends and we were watching, I missed the first CKY tape that came out. I think it was called
Sure.
Land Speed. But when CKY 2K came out, that was like our whole summer that year on VHS. And then I even ordered, at that time, you could get like a 2-disc set, like directly from them. One disc was like every song that CKY had put out up to that point, like 20 some tracks, 30 tracks. And then the next disc was all of the Brandon DiCamillo prank phone calls. I don't know if you've ever heard those, but they are
Why did you call my wife and tell my wife what's on her birthday? Oh,
yeah,
dude, the drive-thrus were the best. A 4 with an orange.
Yeah. And
dude, he was the best.
Yeah, it makes the Jerky Boys seem like, you know, tame. Like the just how strange he was, you know.
Dude, DiCamillo was the best. I wish he would come out of hiding. He went away years ago and just like is raising his kid, which I guess you can't blame him. But he was the funniest. He was low-key the funniest one.
Oh yeah, he was the one where I was like, why isn't this guy like writing movies? I wonder maybe he's ashamed at some of that stuff. But hey, you know, it fit the time and the place.
Legend.
So, you know, as far as you know, when you're writing music now, because I hear a lot of your stuff has that kind of synthy sound. Are there any bands from that era, that early 2000s era? Like, I think there was one time when I was listening through your tracks, I was like, oh, I pick up a little bit of like Motion City Soundtrack. Is that something that you ever like tapped into as a, you know, as a music fan?
No.
Never heard of them?
I've heard of them. I'm just not a fan, which is weird if it sounds like that. Dude, I mean it. The older I get, the older the music is I listen to.
Yeah.
But like I grew up during the emo era for sure. Like I was listening to all that. Like I remember when Fall Out Boy from Under the Cork Tree came out, how huge that was. Hawthorne Heights. Like I lived that era. So like somebody just actually mentioned him. That was one of my favorite bands of all time. I feel like Ghost I feel like Ghost was like my personal successor to him as the moody goth rock band. But dude, Billy Vallo's voice was incredible. I was a huge fan of them. No, it's weird. I want to try to write more like the stuff I listen to, but it's tough, man. Like it's really hard to write like Blue Oyster Cult or write like Alice. It's difficult.
That's the trick, right? Is like to like make it an assignment to be like, all right, I'm gonna create something that specifically fits like these parameters.
Yeah,
you know,
I just can't. I can't think about it, and I haven't been writing because I've been so busy with the YouTube channel. But I haven't been writing much lately. I've got some stuff in files that I was working on that I could probably open up and finish. But I also have another band I do, so I keep myself too busy, to be honest with you. It's probably not healthy, but
yeah, I don't
know.
Sometimes I see the amount of content you put out and I'm like, this is incredible. I mean, you're the shorts alone, you know, or, you know, there's so much amazing content out there. It's it is interesting to, you know, now that it's been what, 10 months or so, I think that I've been doing this, and to see, you know, the amount of output is like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And, something that I'm like, I do ask those questions of like, how do you, balancing real life with YouTube life, or even when you're just like looking to unplug from all that, like what do you do to just, push it all out of your head for a moment?
I don't unplug.
Never.
No.
You're on 24/7. Like Andy Kaufman, you never stop.
When I hit 30, which I know will sound silly to some people, maybe even you, because you're a little bit older than me, but when I had my 30th birthday, I remember going to sleep that night. My wife is like 2 months older than me, so she had already turned 30 and she was fine. But like I'll never forget when I turned 30, I was laying in bed. We were watching Con Air. I remember the movie we were watching. And I was like, all right, Teddy, I'm tired. You can turn the TV off and we're going to bed. I like woke up at like 2 a.m. and it hit me. I was like, I'm 30. Like, I didn't think I was not, when I say I didn't think I was going to make it that far, that's silly. I've had a great life, a blessed life. What I mean is time has really I've gotten to this point of my life. And I just remember sitting in bed that night, like 2 or 3 a.m. And I'm like, I'm going to fucking be something, even if it kills me. Like, I am sick. I have a great life. Don't get me wrong. But I was like, I am going to not bitch or complain or make excuses about anything. I'm just going to work my ass off. That's it. That's it. So, that's what I've been doing, man.
Hell yeah.
There's no secret. I just work my ass off. That's all it is.
Gotcha. So you get home from work and it's straight into the studio, shooting
Well,
something, or
studio.
we
I
can
have
call it a
yeah, I work at a job where I do 12-hour shifts, and so I'll work 2 days and I'm off 2 days. Let's say I'm on graveyards. I got only 2 weeks of working nights. When I get off work, let's say I work Saturday, Sunday, Monday, then I'm off Tuesday, Wednesday. When I get home Monday, I'll go to sleep, wake up about 2:33. I'll go running. My wife will kind of get home from work about the same time. We'll eat dinner together. We will relax. When I say I don't turn off, that's not entirely true. We'll relax. We'll have dinner. We'll enjoy each other's company. And about 10:30, Sydney's getting ready for bed. She'll go to bed. I have stuff I write down. I record from 10:30 to 7 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And then I'll do that the next night. And then I go to work 2 days after that. And then I get back. So on night shift, night shift is where I'll film 8 hours worth of stuff.
That's amazing.
And just edit it all and just knock it out. So if I got the flu, you would never know.
Yeah.
You'd never know.
Yeah, I guess, and you probably just work through it. I think I've even seen a couple of videos where you're
not
like, yeah, I wasn't
that.
feeling too
Not
well.
necessarily that. What I mean is I record enough stuff to where I could not film anything and it'd still keep coming out. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's the right way to do it, but it works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's the trick, is finding something that like just fits, everything you've got going on. So, I mean, you've got a drive that's like really impressive. And so, it's, it's plain to see, when you go to your channel, so much content there. The channel is just growing so friggin' quickly too. I mean, it's really amazing to see and awesome to see that you're putting in that work and, being rewarded with it pretty heavily there. What's that like, is like, as YouTube, as your channel grows and, it becomes, maybe even a bigger part of your life, has it been so gradual you haven't really noticed it too much, or did you hit the ground running so hard when you made that decision to get going that you haven't even kind of stopped to, notice too much?
kind of both. Like when I decided about a year or so ago, okay, Christian, you have to, if you're going to do this, it's not like I quit my job or anything. Obviously I'm still working, but like, if you're going to do this, don't expect fast results, but don't stop. And so I just kept pumping away, trying to make my thumbnails better, trying to make my titles a little bit more interesting. trying to make my video quality better, buying. As a musician, you can understand how I'm somewhat of a mic junkie, so I have a ton of mics.
Mhm.
And I would just try to figure out how can I make my stuff look better, sound better. I would talk to people that were better than me at YouTube. I would go talk to Pizzow. Piz,
Mhm.
okay, so tell me about this. Like, you have this really great depth perception where you've got a real nice. Tell me, how are you doing that? What kind of camera? Blah blah blah. And I would ask people that are better than me how to do stuff, and most of the time they're happy to help, and I would talk
Mhm.
to Lee Drum Thumbs about this, or I would talk to, a ton of people. I would just reach out to people and just ask for advice or tips, you
Mhm.
know. So I just did all that, and eventually stuff started doing okay. Some of my shorts and videos started doing okay, and YouTube likes, I guess, me uploading a lot,
Mhm.
that every now and again, one of my videos will get pushed to the algorithm and do pretty good. There's no secret. That's another thing.
Mhm.
Somebody's like, dude, how did you get your channel to start growing? So there's no secret. There's literally no secret. You want to get people, it's the easiest thing in the world to explain, but it's not easy to do. It's like you have to work at it and put
Yeah.
videos on the website. You know,
Yeah.
it's tough, man, but I'm literally no better than anybody. I'm not doing anything that nobody else couldn't do whatsoever.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's, the just gauging that person's like comfortability, really. It's just like when somebody goes on to YouTube, they want to see something that's a little more real. They want to see something that's maybe like polished, but not too polished. They're kind of looking for that perfect in between. And I think that's like for a lot of people, the secret sauce is just their personality, and people just happen to dig it.
I learned that the hard way. I learned that the hard way, because
Uh,
years ago it was, "What's going on, guys? Welcome back." No, it doesn't work. People can watch the fake stuff on TV. They can watch the
yeah.
fake stuff on Netflix. They can watch the fake stuff on Amazon Prime.
Hmm.
What I found out, what worked, is one time I was doing a show with Brandon, probably on Planet Dirty or whatever, and we at first we're trying to theme a show, and then eventually we started talking about Burger King stuff, and the people were just like they were into it,
Yeah.
or we just had a conversation, and like I'm a Howard Stern kid, and so
Hmm.
there are times where you don't need to confess your whole life on the internet, but I think every now and again, if you can be vulnerable to your audience,
Hmm.
dude, it goes a long way, you know. And so I tried to start being like that on my live streams or shows. Like, you don't have to ask me questions about trivia or movies or this, but like
Hmm.
we could just talk about whatever. It's like, yeah, we love movies, but guess what? We also pay bills. We also, we bleed if we get cut. Like, we can talk about whatever, guys. It doesn't have to even be movies.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of how I started getting, man. And that's also why I changed my channel, because like I was at a point to where if I was gonna only talk about horror, I don't know if I've told you, but like there was a point where my channel was called Christian Hannah Horror. And
Hmm.
Davey, I was when I say I was this close to stopping completely, I was that close. I didn't tell the internet about it. They didn't know, but I was telling my wife, I was like, Sydney, I think I'm done. I can't do it anymore. Like, I love horror, but like I'm sick of talking about it every single video.
Yeah, just being exclusive on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of
Well, not
an
only that,
odd struggle.
you gotta understand this too, Dave. I was a physical media channel too, so now narrow that down even more.
Yeah,
It was the best
true.
decision I ever made. I wouldn't be where I'm at if I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, and I think it's just kind of cover whatever you want. I think that there's that one side of it that's, YouTube may reward you if you have a channel that's just focused on one single thing. And then of course you'll have a section of your
Mhm.
audience that's really into that. I mean, we're horror leaning here on the channel, but we talk about all sorts of stuff, or just kind of whatever I'm
And there's nothing
interested
wrong
in
with
is sort
that.
of the
I'm not for me, I was like, "Jesus Christ, Christian, like you just got this incredible Lionsgate steel box of all 5, all the Rambo films. You're a huge Stallone fan, and you're not even going to talk about it. Like I'm telling myself
Mm,
this,
mhm.
and it
Yeah.
was just this is when I was like, Christian, you have to change.
Mhm.
You can't do this. So that's when I swapped everything to what it is now, and I've never been happier with YouTube. It's not even necessarily that I need to talk about, Stuart Little, but I know I can if I want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I really like is when I'm perusing around and I see a short of yours pop up and it's just, you hanging out and you're like, "Hey guys, have you ever seen this movie?" And you bring up some movie that it's like I'm like, "Oh my god, I used to watch that when I was a kid. I haven't seen it in years." It's like it's a great little reminder, of like, "Hey, there are these there's so much awesome media out there that we either forget about or maybe somebody missed when they were growing up." And finding somebody on YouTube is a great opportunity to get exposed to something that you may have missed the first time around.
Mhm.
Like over over here, my wife and I have a show where we talk about, it's called Movie Date with Davey and Kate, and we talk
Yeah.
about movies that we know really well. And so that's like the stipulation is we both have to know the movie really well, so it's limited in what we can cover. I want to cover Fletch so bad, but every time I put out a poll, Fletch gets completely destroyed in the poll. And I'm basically resigned myself to like, well, the next time my birthday rolls around, we'll just do Fletch because I just want to do Fletch because it's
Well,
one of my favorite movies of all time, and I
I
know
I'll
you're
I'll
a big
reserve
fan as well.
I'll reserve judgment on your audience, but, no,
Me
I'm
too.
kidding.
I try to. No, I try to. Well, I think
If
and a lot of people just haven't seen it, right? It's one of those like people know Christmas Vacation, maybe they know Caddyshack, maybe they know The First Vacation. But like for most people when they think of Chevy, they don't think of Fletch unless they grew up in
for
that era or they, dove back.
I don't know what it is, Dave. For some reason, people cling to Bill Murray stuff more than Chevy.
Mm,
Now, I never understood why it was that I liked Chevy more than Bill until I heard Tarantino kinda describe it. Like, Chevy doesn't change his convictions in his movie whatsoever. He's a he's a buffoon in the start of the movie. He's somewhat cocky and arrogant, and he's the same way at the end. And Bill is a buffoon idiot in the beginning of the movie. He sees the error of his ways, then he's
mhm.
the nice guy at the end. There's something about Chevy not changing who he is. That's so fucking
Yeah.
punk rock to me.
He
And, to me, Chevy is so good at timing and the
Yes.
physical comedy stuff.
Yeah.
You remember Caddyshack 2? Caddyshack 2 is ridiculously bad, but there's a scene where they go to see him and he's playing pool and he just goes to put the pool stick back on the rack and he makes a mess and he's just like, "Oh, sorry, excuse me. Oh, that's no problem." And the pool sticks are flying everywhere. It's so stupid. But
Yeah.
he's the king at that. I love Chevy. I always will. And I'm so happy that Chevy is in a good place today.
Yeah.
He's got his family. He's going out. He's doing conventions, and the audiences are saying he's never been friendlier. He's never been happier.
Mhm.
I read Chevy's book. I don't know if people realize the childhood that poor guy had. It was bad, very very bad. Like I can't describe it on the internet, kind of
Oh,
stuff.
geez.
So Chevy was a troubled, and a lot of those comedians are like
Yeah.
they didn't have good lives.
Comedy can come from a really dark place, you
Very dark.
know, and that need to or, finding that escape in a club, usually at a young age, and relating with people that are completely outside of your family. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And yeah, Chevy is to me, it's yeah, that cadence and that rhythm. I mean, the timing of like, you can oh, did I lose you guys? Are you there?
You there? Your camera just
Hello.
come on. Your camera went off.
I don't know what it's funny. It doesn't happen every time, but it happens every once in a while. All right, we're back. Yeah, Chevy's just got that. You can recite one of his lines from a movie, but to say he hits it in this way that's so specific.
Yeah.
It's like trying to play a guitar, Brian May guitar solo. Like, yeah, you can play the notes, but are you really going to sound like Brian May? And
Yeah,
like
exactly.
and I think like maybe, Bill is a little bit more of that, it's not as polished with Bill. I don't think. I think it's comes from a little bit more of like a natural place, whereas Chevy to me seems like very well rehearsed, but it's not supposed to feel like it's very well rehearsed. And
Mhm.
Yeah, I know he went through that really rough patch, you know, when he was on Community, which
Community.
I haven't
He was
even
so
gone through
funny on
that
the
show.
show. He was
Yeah.
so good on Community, but Chevy didn't get it. Chevy's one of those guys that just like he never kept up with culture and he
Mhm.
never kept up with stuff. He was so funny, but he says like the show makes it's not funny to me. I don't get it. The Community was hysterical. I
Yeah.
loved Chevy on Community.
Yeah, he
So
is, that was actually gonna be one of my start bench cuts for you here, and I guess I can just bring that up. Um, you know, kinda like, you know, fuck, marry, kill, although I just feel a little bit better about start bench cut. Not sure if you're a sports fan, Christian. But yeah, I was
good,
gonna
yeah.
do start bench cut with Fletch, Caddyshack, and the First Vacation film.
Gun to the head.
Nah.
I'll take the gun to the head. Um,
It is really
so
tough.
I'm assuming the way this start and bench start means basically the one I love the most. Bench means
Yeah, it's like 1, 2, 3, pretty much,
okay.
yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah,
Fletch Caddyshack and the First Vacation.
yeah.
Oh God. Um.
I know,
Okay,
it's
so
not fair.
I think to me, I have to say that I think that the First Vacation is probably one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. To where
Mhm.
by myself I laugh watching it. Physically out loud chuckle. So I'm gonna start Vacation. Dude, there's no way in hell I'm cutting Caddyshack, and I'm gonna tell you why. The ensemble of the judge, who is
Mhm.
honestly the funniest one in the movie.
Ted Knight? Oh my
The
god, he's
judge,
amazing in
yeah,
that movie.
his timing and his vigor in that
Yeah.
movie, or when Rodney pulls up when Rodney pulls up and he's
Yeah.
like, "This is my friend Mr. Wang. I'll take 3 of those. Give me 6 of those. Give me 2 of those."
Yeah.
Boy, look at this hat. That's an ugly hat. And when he goes, "Well,
Yeah.
you buy this hat, you get a free bowl of soup. Looks good on you, though." I swear, if I watched that with me and my dad watched that, we're in tears. We're
Yeah.
in tears. And Chevy is arguably at his best in Caddyshack. I mean, when he's, dating the blonde hair girl and he's doing "I was
Mhm.
born," singing the song and
Yeah.
stuff, I can't cut Caddyshack. Caddyshack is too legendary. You really put me in a tough spot, but I will cut Fletch, but it really hurts.
And I will
But
shed a
I to
tear
me,
for
va
Fletch.
to me, Vacation, I think to me, if you ask me what's the greatest comedy of all time, to me, it's Vacation. I love Vacation.
Yeah, I'm a huge original Vacation fan. I mean, I love Christmas Vacation, but I would take the original, any day of the week.
Yeah,
There it is.
yeah, right
Yeah.
there.
And
And
he's
there's
kinda
a
got, like, oh,
there's
there it is,
Caddyshack.
yeah. Judge Smales with his whole, like,
Gambling is
"Danny"
legal in
li
Bushwood,
li
sir, and I never slice.
well, and then when he's like, "Danny, he says something like, "I've I've put men younger than you in the chair. Didn't want to, felt I owed it to them." Like, just his, like, the
It's
way he really, like, relishes every line and just him saying, like, "Spaulding," just
it's so good.
it's absurd.
Oh,
Telling
he's so
telling Chevy
funny.
to put the steering wheel on the right side of the vehicle. "Ty, quit fooling around. You put that steering wheel on the right side of the vehicle and get it off this." Yeah, it's
Oh, man,
amazing.
he's so good. So
Yeah.
good. That must be the tea. Like, the whole movie is just so hysterical.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
man, I
it
love
is
it.
an amazing ensemble. I mean, there's so many great performances in there, some from people we never really saw again, but so happy that they're there, you know?
Oh,
And,
dude.
you were talking about how Chevy's like a buffoon all the way through. And I kind of get like, especially in the original Vacation, there's like a little bit of like something that must have inspired a character like Homer Simpson, where it's just like the, the dumb optimist that's like quick to anger, but quick to be happy. It just sort of reminded me of that. And then, wait, did you say the baseball team in your hometown was the Zephyrs? Is that what
Yeah,
you said? So
yeah.
that I thought of the Simpsons when you were talking about that earlier too, because when they have Homer at the bat, the jersey that Mr. Burns wears says Zephyrs
Oh,
on it.
really?
Like
Oh,
that's like
wow.
his old. No one else wears that jersey. He just wears his manager's jersey that says Zephyrs on it. It's I don't know why. The
Dude.
Simpsons is just something that was such a big part of my upbringing that it just pops up randomly sometimes.
Yeah. Do me a favor, dude. Just for me, because I do my best. Sprinkle some Chevy on your channel, dude, because
All right.
he's the man. I want him
Yeah.
to stay alive and well and healthy. And some of his movies are still just like, oh, they're so like to me, Funny Farm has to be one
Mm-hmm.
of the most unsung, great little cozy comedies
Mm-hmm.
ever. I love Funny Farm so
Yeah, that was
much.
Chevy got a lot of play like in my house growing up. Like we rented all those movies. I mean, I watched Cops and Robertsons. That was another one. Even watched the Memoir
94,
of the
yeah.
Invisible Man when that came out on VHS. Foul Play with Goldie Hawn.
Oh God, classic.
That's another
Spies Like
fun one.
Us.
Oh God,
Just
yeah.
dude, he has a great filmography. The
Mhm.
90s are a little rough,
Yeah.
but dude, I mean when you end the decade of the 80s with Fletch Lives and Christmas Vacation, besides
Yeah.
Jim Carrey's 1994, I don't know how you beat that. You know what I'm
Yeah, Jim
saying?
Carrey's 94 was pretty awesome. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what it is. Like Fletch is one of those movies. My wife and I will watch that like, I don't know, sometimes 3 or 4 times a year.
Dude,
Like
hell yeah.
it's so easy, it's so digestible. We'll just be like, "Hey, you want to just put on Fletch?"
That's the
I
thing
think
about
he's
yeah.
yeah,
I'm
he's
sorry.
just so charming. No, go ahead. You're the
Because
guest.
I can get going. If you get me talking about Chevy, I'll get going. His movies have this really great cozy quality. They're very cozy. Like I love
Mhm.
going to bed watching a Chevy movie. You go to bed happy, it puts you in a real good mood. You wake up feeling great. It's
Yeah.
medicine, those movies.
Mhm.
Like Funny Farm is the best movie to watch going to sleep, hands down. Because it's a low energy film.
Yeah.
Not it's not a sad movie, it's very funny, but, like, it's not like an explosive, fast-paced boom like
Yeah.
Ghostbusters. It's very, you know, fishing the snake out of the lake and like, it's dude, it's nothing like it. It's nothing like it.
Yeah, eating Rocky Mountain oysters, all that kind of good stuff. Um, yeah, and it's almost like Chevy is on the one hand, and this is just kind of occurring to me now. It's almost like the buffoonery is sort of like we all see the buffoonery like within ourselves, right? So it's sort of like there's that bit of relatability with how he plays or he works that into a lot of his characters. But then there's also the charming like effortlessness of it all too that we all wish we had.
Right.
He's very very quick
Absolutely.
and very like hilarious. I mean, in Fletch, he is, so charming. He could have like, any woman in the whole movie if he wanted to, essentially. And just little things like, Dr. Rosenrose, Dr. Rosenpenis, Dr. Rosen, Dr. Or the whole thing with like Babar, like, does it have 2 B's in it? And he's like, oh no, just 1 B. And he's like, BAR. That's 2. And he's like, yeah, but not right next to each other. Just these little things that he sneaks in there.
Dude, yeah.
Sierra del Fuego, fucking taco. Just what the hell?
Deep River.
Yeah. Got the whole fist up there, Doc?
Oh,
After
man.
visiting with Dr. Jellyfinger, we could just sit here and quote all of our random lines from
All day.
from Fletch.
All day.
What kind of name is Poon anyway? Comanche Indian.
Oh, man.
So what is it about the younger generation that do they not know that Fletch exists? Is that what it is, Christian? It's up to you, and now it's up to me. You've bestowed it upon me to jump in there.
Well, to answer the question seriously, I don't really know. I think comedy's really is kind of a dead thing today. And especially the comedies back then, because a lot of them were rated R. Like I was taken aback a few years ago when I remembered, like, oh, Vacation was rated R.
Yeah.
And that you don't see much movies like that anymore. So it is kind of like a dead art form. Like you want to talk like, and so I think people will find them. I had to find Chevy stuff on my own. I did not grow up watching Chevy stuff. Once I got a little bit older, I remember I got some Saturday Night Live DVDs, and I saw Chevy doing Weekend Update, and I was like, this guy's hysterical. And this was like 2009, 8. So I found Chevy on my own, and so I think a lot of the younger people will probably do the same. And then when I was
Mhm.
watching Caddyshack, I was like, who is this wide-eyed guy? And then I looked into Rodney, and I was obsessed. I
Yeah.
love Rodney. Rodney is my favorite stand-up. One of
Yeah,
my
he was
favorite stand-up
wild.
comedians. Like his one-liners, you want to talk about delivery too.
Yeah.
Rodney, dude, MGM 95. If you can watch that concert of Rodney, he was older, but he still had that speed of his one-liners, and it's one of my favorite stand-ups of all time. He is just destroying the crowd. MGM
95.
95. It's on
Right.
YouTube. It is a ball busting show. He was so good there.
Yeah, and,
So,
he came on so late, but he just had this, like, firecracker energy to him.
oh,
You know,
incredible.
it's just, there's no one like him, I don't think.
He would go on Johnny Carson and just destroy the crowd.
Yeah.
Johnny didn't even talk.
Yeah.
He was just gonna say, "How you doing today, Rodney?" And Rodney would go and go and go, and then he would go,
Yeah.
"Oh, so really? What's that?" And then Rodney would go, just destroy the crowd, destroy the
Yeah.
crowd.
It's
Just great
like,
stuff.
Robin Williams was kinda that way too, where it's just like he shows up on someone's show, and there it
And
is,
lets
now
it
it's
rip.
Robin's show.
Oh,
Yep.
dude, when Robin Williams went on Inside the Actors Studio, that big show with James Lipton,
Yeah.
remember that?
Mhm.
I wish I could find those episodes. They used to be on YouTube, but they got pulled, and it's hard to find them. But I'll never forget watching Robin Williams on James Lipton's Inside the Actor Studio. He's supposed to sit down, and James Lipton goes through his filmography with him. Robin gets on stage, and before he sits down, he does like this 15-minute thing as a character actor, being like a preacher at like a big, Baptist church or
Yeah.
something, getting loud. And he has this woman in the crowd laughing so hard. She's crying, she's beat red, and she looks like she's having a seizure from laughing.
She's
The crowd,
hyperventilating, yeah.
oh, I can picture it in my head. It was probably like 97, 98 when they were doing these. Dude, it was so funny. I wish I could find it. Maybe I can. I have to search the internet, but I'll never forget that. That was a great show. I don't know if you ever watched any of those.
Yeah.
Oh man, I remember Stallone did one, Michael J. Fox did one, Johnny Depp did one, John Goodman did an incredible episode. And that's one of my other favorites is John Goodman because he lived in New Orleans. I think he still does. At least he has a house in New
Oh,
Orleans,
nice.
and we used to see him at the Save Center grocery center when I was a kid.
That's wild.
He'd always have he'd have a ball cap on. He'd kind of cover his face, and he would,
Yeah.
and I always wanted to meet him, but my mom was kind of like, you got to leave him alone. Because
Yeah.
I was a big Flintstones fan as a kid, right?
Mhm.
Looking back, I wish I would have let my mom just let me go up to him, but I used to see him all the time, just grocery shopping,
That's
you know.
amazing.
So yeah, I always loved John Goodman. He was always one of my favorites too.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's, it is amazing, like, all the throughout the time of comedy, like you were saying, with where things are at right now, it's like, man, there aren't really R-rated comedies anymore. There isn't, a lot of comedies from the 80s, like you were saying, there's either nudity in them or a whole bunch of really crass humor. Do you think we'll ever come back around to that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think there'll be a point where eventually we're like, I don't want to get political, but like eventually people are going to have to just like let go and just let
Yeah.
people be funny again
Yeah.
and make fun of
'Cause it's
everybody, because eventually it's like we're going to have nothing left to laugh at. It's like
yeah.
everything's going to be off limits, and it's like it can't be that way. I understand
Yeah.
there's some stuff that's like, okay, that's pushing it. I understand that. And I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. We don't need to be we don't need to be downright disrespectful, but it's just like, how many times do you watch a comedy that's from like 88, 87, 98? Like for
Yeah.
instance, Norm Macdonald's Dirty Work. It's like
Oh my
watching that.
God.
I'm sure there's a lot of moments where you would
Oh,
say, "Oh, that would get him in trouble today. That would get him in trouble
sure.
today. That would get him."
Yeah.
Like Artie Lang opening his mouth in 2024 would just get him in trouble. you know?
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, man. That's why I say buy physical media, because I think they're making episodes of The Simpsons disappear on Disney Plus.
Mhm.
I think half the Michael Jackson stuff, you probably know better than me. I hear that's gone. Like there's Michael Jackson episodes that are just gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they, I don't know, if there's like Apu-centric episodes that they take out or whatever, because I know Hank Azaria isn't doing the, he doesn't do that voice anymore. And yeah, I mean, it seems like there's stand-up comedy is where you can be edgy, but it's almost
That's
like
true.
now if
That's
they
true.
write it into a movie, it almost seems like people see that as as saying that those viewpoints are okay, instead of saying that, oh, this is actually a
Yeah.
joke. And usually I find that the joke is actually made at the person that's saying the thing that's like hurtful or hateful. You know what I mean? Like, for example, like Job in Arrested Development, like everything that he says that's like homophobic or racist, it's like, because he's a really, dumb guy.
Same thing
That
with
is
like
saying
Michael
that,
Scott from The Office. Like,
yeah,
with
exactly.
Oscar. It's like the humor is how ignorant Michael is,
Mhm.
But I also think too that the big budget comedies have gone away so much with studios and for so many years that it's almost like, oh well, we can't spend the money to do this. It's going to be a mess or it's going to
Mhm.
flop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that is that's definitely true, because they spend so much money on getting stars and marketing and everything like that. Let's see here. Have you seen The Fletch with John Hamm? Speaking of movies that
I
went
have it on my queue. I have it on my queue.
directly,
I haven't watched it. I'm going to go into that with an open mind though. I really am.
I think we really like it here. My wife and I, we've watched it like maybe 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
It's a really good, like, new version of it that's still funny. It maintains a little bit of that humor that's in the that I've heard is in the books, and then a little bit of that Chevy, but maybe a little more grounded as far as the comedy goes. But that's my favorite John Hamm performance that I've seen.
Wow. I'm
Um,
excited then because I
yeah.
haven't looked up a review or heard anybody talk about it. So
Yeah, it's
very,
a
very
fun,
cool.
and most importantly, I think the reason why Fletch works is like the story of like the mystery behind the crime and everything works really well. I think
Excellent. Oh,
especially in
it's
that
so
first
relieving to
movie, and I
hear.
think that that's what works in this one as well. So, oh, there it is. Yep. Or you mean Confess Fletch, Kate, because it's called Confess Fletch. I think
Yeah.
it's based on the very first book he had. Well, Christian, it's been so awesome having you on, man. I got to get over or bring Ken and Ashley on here because they've got work early in the morning. So I want to bring them on here before it gets too late.
Sure.
But it's been awesome having you on, man, and getting to know you a little bit. I wanted to talk about your new dog because I saw that you guys adopted a dog just this last week. Is that right?
Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney Dangerfield, the dog. All right.
He's
Well,
a pug,
we'll have to
yeah.
bring you on another time and have a chat about
Sure.
Rodney Dangerfield, the dog. We've got
But
3
if
rescue
I'm ever
cats.
doing a Planet Dirty, if I'm live and you're in the chat and you're free, just shoot me a message. You could hop on.
Hell yeah,
Hop on
man.
with us.
Awesome. And
So
then yeah, we'll have to dive into some Chevy talk and man, dirty work. I could talk about dirty work forever.
okay,
One
yeah,
of
we
my most
definitely do.
viewed videos or most
Love
viewed
Norm.
movies.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
All right, brother.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much, guys. I don't even have to say it. The links are in the description below for Christian's channel, Planet CHH, but I'm guessing everyone in here subs over there. If not, what are you doing over here? How did you find me? Get over there, give him a sub. Thank you so much again, Christian. Have a great rest of your night, man.
Take care.